Hello, my name is Ethan Conrad, and I just showed you a clip from space travel in 1963, and that is the topic of my presentation today. The first major improvement of 1963 space travel was from Valentina Tereshkova. She was the first woman in space. She was 26 years old, and she was chosen over 400 other applicants. Before she became a Russian cosmonaut, she actually worked at a textile factory. She went up into space on June 16, 1963, where she spent over 2 days in space. So her accomplishments. So the goal of her mission was to test the effects of space travel on a woman's body. They wanted to know what happened to a woman's body while she was in space. And as mentioned, she was in space for almost 3 whole days. This is the second longest time, even today, that one person has spent alone in space, meaning that they aren't with other people. They're there alone. The longest was in the mission before Valentina Tereshkova. There was a male Russian cosmonaut who spent 5 days in space, which still happens to be the record today. The next major advancement was from the USA and the Project Mercury mission. So it carried astronaut Gordon Cooper on the Mercury Atlas 9 rocket. It was also the final Mercury mission. It was the last of 7 missions, and it was also the only one that happened in 1963. The other 6 happened in 1961 and 1962. So, the accomplishments from this mission. The goal of this mission was to find out and test the limits of the Mercury space capsule. In 34 hours, astronaut Gordon Cooper orbited around Earth over 22 times. It was also the first space flight longer than 1 day. And it was also by far the longest Mercury mission. Before this mission, the longest amount of time that one American had spent in space was about 9 hours. And so going from 9 hours to over 34 hours was a big jump at the time. Then also, we have the Mariner 2 mission. This mission officially ended on January 3rd, 1963. It had 75 controllers working on it from Pasadena, California, while the mission was going on. And since NASA lost contact with it on January 3rd, 1963, it has been orbiting around the sun. So, the accomplishments from this mission. It was the first mission to successfully observe another planet. It traveled to Venus with 6 instruments. The goal of it was to find out more about the planet Venus. It wanted to find out the things like the surface temperature and the atmosphere. In fact, it was once thought that Venus could hold water in its atmosphere, which led some to believe that there could be some potential for life on the planet. However, because of this mission, it found that the atmosphere was extremely harsh and that the surface temperature on Venus could reach up to 800 degrees, which meant that life was not thought to be suitable on Venus after this mission, as it once was. And as you see right here, you can see the space capsule, and that disc right there is how it communicated with NASA and how it all worked. So there were 3 major breakthroughs in 1963 space travel. Now it's up to you guys to decide which one you think was the most important and which one led to the most advancement in space travel.